Welcome to Rich Tribe. Let's be honest, when you hear the word budget, what comes to mind? Probably restriction, complicated spreadsheets, and basically saying no to everything fun. Well, we're here to flip that script. A budget isn't a cage, not at all. It's a roadmap. It's the tool that finally puts you in the driver's seat of your financial life.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the why, the psychology behind all this. Then we'll cover the simple what, the practical how, look at a few different methods, talk about common mistakes, and wrap up with how to actually make this a real, lasting habit.
Wow, 6 steps. That already sounds kind of complicated for a beginner. Is this going to be a lot of work?
Not at all. It's a clear path, I promise. But before we even think about touching a single number, we have to start with the most important piece of the puzzle. Your mindset. Honestly, understanding why budgeting is so powerful for your brain is the secret to making it stick.
So I want to start by asking you a question, and be honest with yourself. Does it ever feel like your money has a life of its own, like it's controlling you?
Oh, I'll jump on that. 100%. It's that feeling, at the end of the month where you look at your bank account and you're just like, where did it all go? The money just vanishes. It creates this low-level anxiety all the time, just not knowing.
Exactly. And that's the very first mental shift. The moment you start actually tracking where your money goes, that vague, nagging guilt you feel every time you tap your card, that, should I have bought that feeling? It gets replaced by cold, hard facts. You're swapping anxiety for clarity. And that leads right into this next point. There's this psychological concept called locus of control. All it means is that budgeting reinforces the belief that you are the one steering the ship. You're no longer just a passenger helplessly watching your money fly out the window.
What's also really fascinating is how it changes your relationship with time. When you can see the big picture clearly, that little impulse to buy something right now suddenly has to compete with the much bigger satisfaction of hitting a goal you really care about.
So here's the bottom line. A budget is basically a mirror. It forces you to see if your money is actually flowing towards the things that bring you real joy. Travel, hobbies, whatever it is for you, or if it's just getting dribbled away on stuff that you don't even care about. And when you put all this together, it just leads to a calmer mind. Think about it. Instead of making dozens of tiny, stressful money decisions every day, can I afford this coffee? Is it okay to buy this? You make a few big decisions once a month. It frees up so much mental energy. Okay, so now that we're in the right headspace, let's pull back the curtain and demystify what a budget actually is. I promise you, it is way, way simpler than it sounds. That's it. At its core, that is all a budget is. It's just a plan for your money to make sure that more is coming in than is going out. Simple.
Okay, so it is just a fancy way to punish myself for buying coffee, right?
Ha! Not at all. It's actually the opposite. It's about deciding ahead of time, you know what, this coffee is important to me, so I'm going to give it a specific job in my plan. It's about making your priorities visible. And that is the perfect lead-in to the really practical part. Let's actually build your very first budget, right here, right now, step by step. You don't need any fancy software, just a little bit of honesty. We can boil this whole process down to 4 simple moves. Figure out what you actually make, list what you actually spend, subtract one from the other, and then tweak it.
All right, 4 steps seems manageable. But step 1, calculate your real income. What do I do if my paycheck is different every month?
That's a great question, and it's probably the biggest mistake beginners make. You have to start with your take-home pay, the actual number that hits your bank account after all the taxes and deductions. And if your income varies, be conservative. Build your budget on the lowest amount you can reliably count on, and then any extra cash is just a bonus for savings or debt. Okay, next up, expenses. It really helps to sort them into 2 buckets. You've got your fixed expenses, the stuff that's pretty much the same every month, like your rent. And then you have your variable expenses, the stuff that changes, like groceries or gas. Now, for most people just starting out, that variable column is where the biggest surprises are hiding. So let's look at a quick example. Let's say you take home $4,000 a month. You list out everything. See how we've got money set aside for all the needs, some of the wants, and even savings? The goal is to do the math, your income minus your expenses, and end up with a positive number. That little bit left over, that's your breathing room.
Seeing the actual numbers laid out like this, it makes it feel so much more achievable. It's not just this big, scary cloud of spending anymore.
Exactly. And listen, you don't have to follow this exact template. The best budget on earth is the one you will actually use. So let's check out a few popular methods so you can find one that fits your personality.
A really great place to start is the 50-30-20 rule. It's super simple. It's just a guideline. Roughly 50% of your take-home pay goes to your needs, 30% to your wants, and a solid 20% goes to savings and paying off debt.
That sounds easy enough, but that line between needs and wants feels like it can get a little blurry. Where does my internet bill fall? What about my morning coffee?
That is the classic question. Here's the simplest way to think about it. If you can truly say, I can't live without this, it's a need. So housing, utilities, basic food, those are needs. Things you spend money on by choice, like a Netflix subscription, a vacation, eating out, those are wants.
Now, if you're someone who really likes to get into the details and wants maximum control, there's another method called zero-based budgeting. The idea here is you give every single dollar a job to do, so that at the end of the month, your income minus your expenses equals exactly zero. Nothing is left to chance.
But look, whichever method you pick, you have to remember this. Your first budget is a rough draft. It is not a final exam. Being imperfect is part of the process. So let's quickly cover a few common mistakes just so you can see them coming.
Oh man, this is me, 100%. I always write down like $300 for groceries because it sounds like a good, responsible number. But then I look at my bank statement and whoops, it's actually $600 every single time.
It is such a common trap. Your budget has to be built on the reality of what you've actually spent in the past, not on a fantasy version of what you wish you spent.
Another huge one is forgetting about those expenses that only pop up a few times a year. You know your car registration is due in October, so it's not a surprise. The easy way to handle it is just to divide that cost by 12 and save a little bit for it each month.
And this right here, this is probably the most important one. You will overspend some months. It is going to happen. It doesn't mean you failed or your budget is broken. It just means you have new data. See it as a learning moment, adjust the plan for next month, and just start fresh.
All right, so you've got the right mindset. You've built your first draft. How do you actually turn this into a real, consistent habit? Let's wrap up with a few final tips to make sure your budget actually sticks around. Okay, here are the keys. First, just check in with your budget once a week. 10 minutes is all it takes to see where you're at. Second, be flexible. If your life changes, your budget has to change with it. It's also a great idea to build in a little miscellaneous buffer for those unexpected things. And probably the most powerful tip, automate your savings. Set up an automatic transfer on payday. That way you pay yourself first, before you even have a chance to spend that money. And hey, before we get to our final, crucial point, if you're finding this helpful, make sure to subscribe to the Risk Tribe channel. Like, comment, and share. Okay, so the last, most critical tip of all. Focus on progress, not perfection.
Because at the end of the day, a budget isn't designed to hold you back. It's a plan designed to get you where you truly want to go. It's not about what you have to give up. It's all about what you want to achieve. So the only question left is, where do you want your roadmap to take you?